Watching movies and series consistently almost every day has made my journey with English so much easier that now when I look back, it almost feels like I don't see a difference between Hindi and English because of how naturally the language comes to me. I've stayed consistent, which wasn't the easiest thing, but I guess I've used the right methods combined with the consistency, and that's why I saw the results that I desired to see. Many people watch shows and movies in English singularly for the purpose of learning something from it, especially in terms of the language, but they just don't see the progress. And so they end up losing faith in this method. Let me tell you, this is one of the best ways to become a natural speaker of the language. But maybe you're not using the right methods for learning the things from these movies and shows that you're watching. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the way I watch these shows. Even today, I do it almost every single day, almost, not daily, as part of a strict routine. But whenever I watch something, I walk into it with a set mindset. Now that I've done it for many years, I can do it on autopilot, and the same would happen to you. But if you're only getting started, or you've been doing it for some time but you haven't been seeing the results, then this is the mindset that you have to follow. And this is the one thing that you have to remember: the context, and that this is not for fun. Whenever you watch a movie or a show, you have to stay focused on the context of the conversation. Only then will you understand the choice of their vocabulary. And if you find something odd, for example, let's say there's a word called X that you've learned to use in a particular context, and while watching a show, you discovered a new context. You should pause the video right then and there and try to understand the context, what situation they're using it in, and what kind of a conversation they're having at the time. This thing will help you understand the culture that's embedded in the language. This is also a mistake that many people make, and this is mostly a misunderstanding that people don't think about. Seeing language as an entirely separate entity from culture is a mistake. Language is part of the culture, and it has so much culture, right? The slang, the relaxed language, the informal language, they are all varieties of English. And so if you're watching a movie just mindlessly, just searching for the right words and not focusing on the content of the material, the content of the movie, then you're missing out on the main point, because it shouldn't be your central focus to pick out words out of context. You know what I mean? You're not there to just fish for words, but to understand those words in context. And this is related to the most common problem that learners face: not remembering vocabulary, especially newly learned vocabulary. I have many people come up to me and say, I don't remember the vocabulary no matter what I do. I watch so many movies, so many shows, and I also remember the story to an extent, but I don't remember the English from it. I took notes of so many phrasal verbs, so many idioms, so many proverbs, but I don't remember any of them. How is it even possible? Has it got something to do with my memory? Not really. It's not about your memory, but it's about your concentration and about your focus. What were you focusing on? Were you focusing on the subtitles? Did you keep your eye on the subtitles the entire time and you were waiting for a good word to pass and to take a screenshot and to go look it up? I know many people do that because of this language anxiety. They think that if they're not focused on the subtitles, they'll not be able to learn the words, and hence it is of zero use to watch the show or movie that they were watching. No, it's not like that. You should get rid of the anxiety when you're watching it. Though I want you to be attentive while watching the show or movie that you're watching, because it is not singularly for the purpose of entertainment. You're also there to obtain something from the video. But again, you have to be like in the middle. You have to be on the middle. You cannot be on either extremes, not focusing at all or like focusing too much only on new words or expressions. Because when you listen to English in context, and this is my second point, you have to notice the pronunciation, the accent, and the the way a word can be used in different contexts. Maybe you remember a word from a book, or you picked a word from some newspaper and you hear the same word in a different kind of a conversation. And if you don't stop to repeat that conversation, the same few lines at least 2 times, then you will not remember the new way you can use the word. And so whenever you come across a new word, first off, don't be fishing for words only. Try to understand the context in which the conversation is taking place. And for that, if you have to go back a few times, listen to the same lines a few times, that's completely fine. It happens to everybody and it's normal. And then when you finally come across a new word, try to see if you remember the word from somewhere else and how they are using it in context. And obviously focus on the pronunciation. Some people just watch something on their laptop and they're ready with their notebooks to take, notes. They're constantly taking notes of words and phrases. Yeah, right. That's one way of just keeping a good record of everything that you learn from your online videos. But is it going to help you remember those words? Yes, you are engaging more senses by taking notes, but that is not it. Your brain has so much information to store that if you do something almost mindlessly just for the sake of it, it is not going to remember it. And that is why so many people face this challenge of not remembering vocabulary. For that, what I want you to do, again, whenever you come across a new word or a new expression that you want to take notes of, listen to it a few more times in the whole sentence, in the context. For example, let's say a new word for you is epitome. And you knew that this word is pronounced as epitome, or you felt that because the pronunciation is tricky. Now, when you listen to the pronunciation, pause the video. Whenever you hear a new pronunciation, pause the video and see which word it is. And not just once, do it a few times. You know what I mean? That way, you'll not only be increasing your vocabulary bank, but also your pronunciation is going to become a lot stronger and a lot more reliable. We all know pronunciation of words that we use, right? But we do not have the reliable pronunciation for each word in our vocabulary bank. That is also a truth. So for that, every time you hear a new pronunciation, even though later you might not take note of that word, you can skip it if you don't like it, but pause the video there, see which word they are saying. Again, listen to it in context. Try to repeat the pronunciation then and there. You can take notes, you can pause the video there, go look up the meaning, pause the video and go look up the pronunciation, or you can keep it for later. But I personally never do that. I listen to the pronunciation from the speaker's mouth itself right then and there, and then I go look it up on Google, pausing the video in the moment, because what happens is that if you keep it for a later period, you lose interest. And anything that you do related to studying is better when it is done in the moment. So that's just the basic thing that you have to keep in mind while listening to videos or movies in English. Now, my third point is about knowing your thing. And I've talked about it in detail in this other video that I made. Again, you have to know where you're going to use the vocabulary. You're not running out of time, right? Pause the video and think about the word for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes if needed, and try to figure out where you can use it. I am not asking you to make sentences, example sentences with the word right then, but think where you can use it exactly, or if you will ever be able to use it. If the answer is no, you've thought long and hard about it, and the answer is no, you know what to do with that word. You can still take note of it, but then you shouldn't be wasting your time just trying to force your brain to learn a word that you perhaps will never be using. You know what I mean? So for that purpose, whenever you come across a new word or a new expression, you have to know where you're going to use it. Just decide that in the moment. Pause the video, because if you're listening to a chat and you're also trying to think side by side, it can be chaotic, and your brain cannot multitask. That is the truth. Pause the video, think about that word, and see if you already know any synonyms, any simpler synonyms for that word, and you can use that word as a replacement for the simpler word that you already know. Point number 4 is about fillers. I know many creators and even English teachers just hate fillers. And people in general just want to get rid of all of their fillers, the sounds, the words, the phrases, all of it, literally all of it. But just think about it. If you speak without any fillers, wouldn't your language sound mechanical? Yes. Would you like that? No. No. We want to speak like humans, and it is only natural to take some pauses while talking. Because at the end of the day, we're not ChatGPT. Neither do we want to sound like ChatGPT. You know what I mean? So it is okay, completely fine to use fillers. Two things that you can do while watching shows related to this point is listen to native speakers and the kind of fillers they use, because they use a lot of fillers as well. I would say native speakers use more fillers than non-native speakers. And I'm speaking from personal experience. And this is not a point that I'm trying to take in any other direction. I'm simply trying to say that it is completely fine. This is completely normal to use fillers. And you shouldn't be afraid of using fillers. You might be afraid of other things, like getting stuck for 10 minutes in a 15-minute conversation. That is something that might be a bit embarrassing. Doesn't happen though, but taking some pauses, taking time to think your next thing, or just arranging a sentence in your mind, if that takes time, it's completely fine. But the kind of fillers that you should be using should not make you sound like you just do not know what you're doing in this conversation, or you're just lost. You know what I mean? There are different types of fillers again. So if you get stuck, if you get stuck in a conversation and you're rambling on for like 5 minutes, then the other person is definitely going to have an impression of you that you were lost the whole time they were speaking, or you have no idea what you want to speak next. That shouldn't happen, but taking small pauses is completely fine. And you can learn the art of using fillers masterfully from native speakers. Yes, they will help you a lot. Watch them speaking naturally in movies and shows. You might say, Richa, they go off a script. Yes, they go off a script. Also on reality TV, you can watch reality TV to see people go off script. But talking about movies or shows, they use scripts, but the scripts are written in a very relaxed language, so that the people are able to connect on a deeper level, and they feel like, yeah, it's really happening in their life, and the character is not a character. The character is not playing a character. They are the real character in their real life. You know what I mean? So whenever you listen to people talk, don't just listen to the high points, the good parts about like the great vocabulary or the great pronunciation. See the points where they get stuck. See the points where they're not able to think the best idea and how they come out of it. See the points how they manage their pauses. You know what I mean? These are some points that will give you an added layer of confidence to take pauses and to, come up with not so great ideas sometimes and still feel equally confident in the conversation. That is what I meant when I said listening to English in context, because real English is not mechanical. Real English is not very advanced English all the time. Real English is just simple, understandable, and comfortable to speak. Yes, it is comfortable to speak. I hope you enjoyed this video. I gave you a bunch of information on how to actually extract the most from watching videos on Netflix or Prime. If you want any movies or show suggestions, you can comment down below, but let me know your interest, and then I might be able to give you some quality recommendations. And again, once you apply these methods, I want you to come back and drop your progress. I'm going to see you again in the next one. Bye-bye.